1904 St. Louis Olympic Marathon, the most chaotic and bizarre race in history. The marathon held at the 1904 St. Louis Olympics went down in history as one of the strangest, most chaotic, and unfair races in modern Olympic history. This event saw cheating athletes, runners poisoned mid-race, a course filled with wild animals, and major organizational failures. Here are the full details of the infamous 1904 Olympic Marathon. The challenging conditions of the race. The 1904 Olympics were held in St. Louis, USA, and the marathon race took place in scorching temperatures exceeding 30 degrees Celsius. The course was entirely dusty and rugged, making it extremely difficult for the runners. At that time, the roads were unpaved, forcing the athletes to run through thick clouds of dust stirred up by passing automobiles and horse-drawn carriages. Moreover, there was only a single water station along most of the course. In an effort to test the endurance of the athletes, the event organizers deliberately restricted their access to fluids. This led to extreme dehydration and severe difficulties for the competitors. The cheating champion, Fred Lors. At the start of the marathon, American athlete Fred Lors began running like all the other competitors. However, after approximately 15 kilometers, he became extremely fatigued and decided to drop out of the race. Fortunately for him, a spectator offered him a ride in their car, carrying him for 18 kilometers. With only 5 kilometers left to the finish line, Lors got out of the car and resumed running. He crossed the finish line in first place and was met with enthusiastic cheers from the crowd. Even the race officials believed he had won and were preparing to award him the gold medal. However, just as the medal ceremony was about to take place, some spectators informed the officials that they had seen Lors riding in a car during the race. Once his deception was exposed, he was immediately disqualified, and his victory was annulled. The starving Cuban athlete, Felix Carvajal. One of the most fascinating characters of the marathon was the Cuban runner Felix Carvajal. Felix had traveled from Cuba to the United States on his own to participate in the St. Louis Olympics. However, along the way, he lost all his money and was forced to compete on an empty stomach, wearing tattered clothes. During the race, he could no longer endure his hunger and stopped at a roadside orchard to eat some apples. Unfortunately, the apples were rotten, causing him severe stomach cramps. Despite this, he refused to give up and miraculously finished the race in 4th place. Wild animals on the course and a dusty nightmare. The marathon course was nothing short of a disaster zone. Athletes had to run under scorching heat on arid plains where wild animals roamed freely. To make matters worse, automobiles and horse-drawn carriages were moving along the race route, kicking up thick clouds of dust that runners had to endure. These brutal conditions forced many competitors to drop out before even reaching the finish line. Only 14 runners finished the race. A total of 32 athletes started the marathon, but only 14 managed to cross the finish line. The rest were forced to drop out due to extreme heat, dehydration, or injuries. This marathon went down in history as one of the worst organized races in modern Olympic history. The events of that day serve as a crucial lesson, highlighting how much marathon organization has evolved over time. Conclusion: a marathon unlike any other in history. The 1904 St. Louis Olympic Marathon was an absolute disaster for both athletes and spectators. Fred Lors's cheating scandal, Thomas Hicks winning despite being poisoned, Felix Carvajal starving and eating rotten apples, a course filled with wild animals, only 14 runners managing to finish the race. These events made this marathon one of the most chaotic and scandalous in modern Olympic history. Even today, the 1904 Olympic Marathon is remembered as one of the strangest, most dangerous, and most unforgettable sporting events in history.